Quick answers.
Go to you, please, Senator Roberts.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for appearing. Firstly, I want to thank you for always being a very clear and articulate advocate for the small businesses in this country. Without them, this country dies, and I think many people forget that. Is the Ombudsman aware of the recent ABC coverage of small businesses who have suffered when entering business loans?
Yes.
Thank you. Are you able to elaborate on some of the key protections that are afforded to consumer borrowers under the National Consumer Credit Protection Act?
Senator Bruce Bilson, Australian Small Business and Family Enterprise Ombudsman. I was a bit worried after your opening sentence there'd be a however, but thankfully not.
No, there's no however.
Under a lot of small business borrowings aren't covered by those consumer protections. There is a set of arrangements about diligence and a capacity to repay, but to put it simply, a lot of small businesses borrow with the aim to change their circumstances, whereas the consumer framework looks at capacity to service. Having said that, there's then codes that sit around it, the banking code, and there's a code subcommittee particularly focused on small and agri-business lending. AFCA is involved as well, Senator, where the lender has agreed to be bound by the AFCA scheme. So where a dispute or a grievance arises, they can go to AFCA.
This is a consumer.
Yeah, no, this is small business, specifically about small business. And then we deal with what I call fringe financiers. There are quite a number of financiers who are outside the AFCA framework that can behave quite appallingly, and we try and seek a resolution to those circumstances, mindful we have no powers to direct a particular outcome.
So which of the provisions or the protections, key protections that are afforded to consumer borrowers are not available to small business borrowers?
Well, that capital R responsible, capital L lending provision, where there's a duty to look at expenditure patterns and the like for consumers. Those things aren't expressly required of lenders to a small business.
Okay.
Some apply a similar framework, Senator. There is certain diligence expectations, and then there are safeguards and protections captured by the banking code.
Thank you. Are you aware of small business borrowers paying effective interest rates of up to 140%?
We are aware of some examples. We've had other examples where punitive penalties have been applied. We've even had examples where some borrowers have been approached a broker to look at finance options, not proceeded with the arrangement, and then the brokers introduced them to a lender that's had quite extraordinary terms and conditions, and even though they haven't proceeded with that interest in accessing finance, they've then said, well, here's a several $1,000 bill you can pay, and if you don't pay that, we'll put a caveat on your home. So some of that outrageous conduct we raised through FRAG, the Federal Regulator Agency Group, a group that I chair, looking at various regulators on what can be done about these things for those people that sit outside things like the AFCA scheme and aren't responsive to the banking code and other safeguards.
Are you aware of small businesses taking out high-interest business loans because of tax debts? Can you comment on that?
Senator, I saw reports of that. If I could just check with Ms Collins, I don't believe we've had any particular cases of that character, but we are aware of reports of it. We are also aware that a number of small businesses are feeling very distressed about the return to more regular tax debt recovery activities by the ATO. And also we work closely with the Small Business Debt Helpline. Interestingly, Senator, 30% of the small businesses seeking help from the Small Business Helpline have been in business for over 10 years. Wow. So there's something happening, and it's some of the headwinds that I've pointed to in my opening remark, which I understand has been
Last question,
circulated.
helping me to get back in the good books with the Chair. In your experiences in assisting small business, can you offer a view on what would be the consequences for small business borrowers if the National Consumer Credit Protection Act were extended to cover small business loans?
My concern would be it may further limit access to credit at a time when too many small businesses already explain that they have difficulty accessing the finance that they need. Senator, finance is the oxygen of enterprise, and if we make it too hard to get, the consequence is we constrain that economic activity. A number of other mechanisms provide some safeguards. There is currently a review of the Australian Banking Association has lodged a proposal for a revised banking code. We're very active in trying to make sure that has appropriate safeguards in it for small business borrowers. But then the other part of the concern is about lenders that operate outside those more established channels, and that's more often the type of matter that's raised with our organisation.
Thank you. I appreciate your succinctness.